horses, he could possibly see what is called a walkover, a one-horse race for purse only, the results of which are evident before post time. The above-mentioned meeting was an exercise in that formality. The myths and rumors that surround this subject are legion and consume the internet. Well-meaning people from all walks of life protest the faucets on fire, earthquakes, radioactivity, and the human and bovine carcasses that litter the highways and byways of Pennsylvania and Ohio. The very name Halliburton draws comparisons to Hades and the roads to perdition. It is with no sense of advocacy, whether it be the implementation, cessation, or prevention of the process that this letter is written. However, I ask you to read the accompanying articles, which run counter to the two main sources of disinformation which have arisen in the last few years. That is the screed of Professor Walter Hang of Cornell University, published in the Binghamton Press a few years ago, and the faux documentary of Josh Fox titled Gasland. Permitting in the Marcellus is only about 5 to 7 years old, and I am more than willing to wait to see how it shakes out. Having said that, some facts need to be taken into account. Fracturing has been used in this country for over 75 years. There are some 13,000 gas wells already existing and operating in New York State. Con Ed of New York MTA, LA Transit, New York Botanical Gardens, Central Park Conservatory Commission, Boston, Washington, D.C., and a host of other municipalities use natural gas engines. Natural gas is abundant in our country, 30% cleaner than oil, and eliminates the transfer of wealth from our economy to that of those who wish us harm. Coal-fired electrical generating plants deposit 60,000 tons of mercury per year on the U.S. They can be quickly and cheaply retrofitted to gas by swapping out the burners. The 18-wheel fleet can be similarly converted to gas within 5 years as the industry buys new models. In fact, I would be willing to bet that within 25 years, the town of Oliv will specify that new dump and plow trucks will be so equipped. In the last 5 years, oil has increased in price from $40 a barrel to over $100 a barrel. In the same time, natural gas has decreased from $11 1K cubic feet. I'm sorry, I don't know but to $2 1K cubic feet. Is that what that means? Thank you for clarifying. Detractors of the Marcellus drilling say the supply is good for 10 to 20 years. Proponents of it propose a 100-year supply. The true amount is probably somewhere in the middle, at about 60 years or so. The Utica Shale Formation, 4,000 feet below the Marcellus, is about 3 times bigger. This source of low-emission energy can fill the gap between now and the time that nuclear fission and geothermal energy can be technologically reached. Bradford County, PA has a 5% unemployment rate. Tioga County, New York, a contiguous landmass, has an unemployment rate of over 9%. Bradford County is often cited for methane intrusion into its wells. That contamination before fracking was 1 in 3. After fracking, it is still 1 in 3. To legislate by virtue of nebulous anecdotes is a poor system of codification. Mr. Selkowitz mentioned that we are a progressive little town, but to pass law based on feelings is as provincial and parochial as it can be. To pass a moratorium on the subject without the weight of enforcement is a way for all sides, of which there was one, to save face and with a great sense of accomplishment. In closing, I thank you for your dedication and service to the people of Town of Oliv. Stephen Cadet of West Shokan. And that's what I have.
Could I ask just one question here before we get going? In section 1, should transportation, I know transportation is mentioned in section 2, but shouldn't that also be in section 1 as part of the purpose of the moratorium?
Great idea.
It's mentioned within the law. So.
It's mentioned in section 2, I know, but it's the purpose of the moratorium. I'm asking a question, that's all. Would it be appropriate to just add that in section 1?
Well, I suppose it wouldn't hurt, but then again, this was put together by those that are supposed to know what they're doing. I wouldn't know if it makes a difference in that.
Let's ask the lawyer.
Pardon me?
Ask the lawyer, see if they just missed it like the others.
Well, we can do that before. We're not going to vote on it tonight anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe we could just check that and see if it should be in section 1 also, just that it's not just
Yep.
an error.
Anyone else in the board here? If not, we'll open it up.
A logical place to place the word transportation, as far as I'm concerned, that would be
Louder?
after disposal and transportation and storage.
In section 1?
Mm-hmm.
transportation destroyed.
You're saying the extraction prior to disposal, transportation, is that what you're asking, Ms. Olsted? Where did you say, Glenn?
Extraction, transportation,
Okay.
disposal.
Okay. I will think that that's where you're suggesting.
Because it could be
You'd like to see that in there,
transportation
is
for
that what you're
disposal, or it could be just transportation to get it to its place where it's gonna end up to be used.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
I am George Goy from Olive Ridge. I just want to say I support the moratorium. I think I'm the only one.
Go ahead.
And what is your name? May I have your name so I can,
My name is Mark Donato from West Spokane, and I support the moratorium.
thank you.
Yes?
I'm Henrietta Wise from Olive Ridge, and I support it. And thank you.
Yes?
I'm Ann Haas, also from Olive Ridge, and I support the moratorium. And I really, really want to appreciate the town board for really having done all the, having shown the intelligence and the thoughtfulness and doing the heavy lifting of thinking this whole thing through to the point that you arrived at having a moratorium and doing the best that you can to really pull it off. I respect you and I honor you, and I'm so proud of you.
I'll say thank you for all aboard, because we all worked on this together. And before we go any further, Donnie is working. He should be here shortly. Yes, sir.
My name is Zach Sklar. I live in Olive Ridge, and I also support a moratorium and a law, and I thank the board for doing what it's done. I have a question about the section 4, the waiver section. I don't quite understand why it's there, and it seems to me that it could, I mean, you all support the moratorium, so it's a moot point at this point, but there is an election coming up, and you know, things can change, and I just don't understand why this waiver section is in there. Maybe somebody could explain how what its function is. It seems to me
I believe that's more of a legal thing than anything. I mean, the lawyers put that in there because there has to be, you know, non-prejudice and procedures.
I mean, it's
So
like,
I believe that's why it's there.
I just, it seems to me that you could say this about any law, you know, that if you pass a law, then it can be changed by the town board who passed the law in the first place. I don't understand why it's necessary to put this in.
I think in case a company did come in here, the way I would explain this, in order to have them pay for the review and everything, which is what that 10,000 should go toward, it's there in writing, so we don't have to bring that up after, if and when it does happen.
But if you didn't have the waiver section in there at all, there wouldn't be any applications for a waiver, would there? I mean,
I believe that the reason you have to have the waiver in there is that it's not banned at this point. This is just a moratorium for the town to draft a local law for whatever it was a code to the zoning amendment, however that law turns out, but I believe you can't exclude them. But if you do, they have to pay a $10,000 application fee to defray costs of review. But my understanding is, and as it states in the law, that whatever the town then does pass, they will have to conform to that. And if that means no hydrofracking, then it's no hydrofracking or no whatever.
oh,
That's
I see,
the way
because
I
it's not a law
understand it.
yet. I see.
It's not a law yet. This is just a moratorium.
I see.
So you have to prove, that's what I believe the town attorney has said in the past when we've had this before.
Okay.
I believe it's also, it parallels like the zoning ordinances where